right, let's go.
Awesome.
All right. I just want to introduce ourselves real quick. So we're keeping tabs. I'm Colin.
I'm Luke, and we're both college students, and we're really, really passionate about the Dynamo and about sports journalism, and we're thankful for the opportunity to have you on the show.
Yeah, really, we do. So thank you for that.
So we're just going to kind of get into it, just kind of ask you some different questions, if that's good with you.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on because, as we know, youth is king.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So the first question we wanted to ask was, like, we know how big of a sports enthusiast you are. So, like, what have you done during COVID to pass the time without sports? Like,
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think COVID for all of us has been a great learning experience. If you really want to be honest, I set out very early on in it. I thought it was going to go a while, and I prepared myself for that. So I started out making sure that every day something positive would be a win, whether it's 150 push-ups or putting together a radio show or, calling family members. But that was a big deal to me. It was to make sure things remained positive, because I do think a lot of this has to do with attitude. But, I was fortunate because I have a home studio that I was able to continue my radio shows here in Houston Soccer Matters and in Austin as well. So that's been a godsend. But now I'm ready to get back and start calling some games on TV.
That's what I'm talking. That's exactly what's up. I don't know if you're into poker at all, but that's what we've kind of been.
Yeah, we've been playing a lot of poker, a lot of Texas Hold'em lately, just to give us something to do. Something to get our minds off of.
Luke, it's a great challenge, though, don't you think? I mean, I think it's a great challenge. You can't sit around and woe is me and whine. You got to figure out what it is. I'm riding my bike more, so I'm going on longer bike rides like early in the morning. Maybe I'm reading more. I'm listening to a lot of vinyl. I'm doing different things,
With some vinyl?
Yeah.
You're speaking my language now.
You a vinyl guy?
Who do you listen to?
Oh, well, the gamut, from the Stones and Zeppelin and Queen all the way down to, to
you got some,
all kinds of, some rap in there.
There's everything.
There's country in there. There's everything. I'm trying to think of the word dream pop. That's what I was dream pop. There's some good, mellow dream pop. And actually a lot of old school blues as well.
I was watching one of your podcasts on Soccer Matters when you had two musicians come on. I don't remember. They had some band.
Yeah, that was Gio Chamba. Those guys are cool.
Yeah, I checked them out after the podcast. You can always have new ranges of music.
Absolutely. And you know what? I threw a few twists into the show. I'd have some guys that own vinyl record stores come on the program just to kind of pump their business up, but also because those guys have tremendous knowledge. And here's the secret. Guys that own vinyl record stores, rest assured, they're all in bands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of our equipment from this place called Guitar Center over here.
Yeah.
And, we're not very technically sound.
Oh, my God.
And these people seem like wizards to us. They're know every little thing, what's wrong,
They actually helped us, pick out our mics and everything. I don't know. I'm not technical at all with all that.
Well, you guys learned I'm not either. I had to have the link to get on this thing. But I'm waiting on, I drove by Guitar Center the other day. There was a line outside, and I was just sitting there going, yeah, every single one of those guys plays guitar. Oh, but I'm waiting for a piece from there, too, called an iRig. So that I can plug this right into my computer, and it's a better sound quality.
Yes, sir.
So I was just reading about you, and I learned that you had played for the USL Houston Dynamo. So I was just wondering, how different was the Dynamo of the 1980s compared to the Dynamo of today?
Very, very different. I mean, look, the beautiful thing about passing through the decades of soccer is that your lens now is longer, and that only comes with time, and that only comes with getting older. So, the 80s was a very difficult time for the outdoor game. On the other hand, we had incredibly talented players. We had a guy who played in 2 World Cup finals on our team. We had a guy from Southampton. We had a Brazilian from Club America. I mean, we had some guys with amazing stories that played at amazing levels. They're just, there wasn't social media. We were on page 6 of the Houston Chronicle or Post whenever it came out. So it was just a different time period. You had to sell a game more, but you don't take back any of those memories. That's a part of Houston soccer history. And by the way, it goes even further back beyond that to the late 60s. There was a Houston pro team playing in the Astrodome. You guys, you weren't even born in my era, let alone the 60s, okay? So it is a remarkable history. I wish we would tap into it more in Houston because it's something to be proud of. And there's still a lot of people connected to all these different teams. But, to see where the game is now from when I played it in high school stadiums or, 5,000 people in the Pontiac Silverdome in Detroit or the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, to see where it is now with stadiums with soccer in mind built. I mean, this was not even a conversation back then. So it's absolutely remarkable where it is.
So back then, if I had told you that you'd be doing what you are now, whenever you played for the Houston USL team, what would you have told me?
I wouldn't even have probably understood what you were asking me.
Yeah.
Because my entree into media, and I've done a bunch of different things. I've done TV since the beginning of Major League Soccer, and even before that, a couple of years before, doing indoor. I've been a columnist for the Houston Chronicle, and I've had a radio show for 17 years. I was not trained to do any of this. I didn't go to school for it. I took a few classes to learn more about it, but I learned from the people I was working with. So I had really no idea this type of a career would have taken off. I was really on a career path after playing that was going to take me into coaching, because I did spend 10 years in player development. So funny how things go, but I enjoy every minute of every day when it comes to the sport of soccer.
Yes, sir. I can tell.
So let's get a little more into the Dynamo. Obviously, I don't think any of us are happy with how, the MLS's back tournament ended.
Yep.
What right now, in your opinion, is the Dynamo's biggest strength and their biggest weakness?
Well, their biggest strength right now is unrealized, and that's their coach. Because I think Tab Ramos.
Into the choir here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, I have a lot of respect for him. I played against him in '89. He obviously went on to greater heights in his playing career, and he's definitely younger than me. But what I like about Tab is he's done the work. I know he's done the work in New Jersey, working with youth players. I had a nephew that was in his soccer club for a period of time. I know he's done the work. He's not, hey, I played in a couple of World Cups and I'm entitled to this job. He's earned every bit of this opportunity. And I think he's actually in a tremendous place because, look, the expectations are a little lower down here because of the relevancy of the Dynamo. And that's with all due respect. I mean, we have to be honest about that. We have to be honest when we talk about the team and the climb up. But he's in a great situation because I think if he can turn things around here, and he does deserve and need time. I hear people, oh, the coach, he's handed this team. This is not his team. I can guarantee you when he looks over the roster, he's going, yeah, I'm going to need to move this guy. I mean, he's got a lot of that in his head right now. Yeah. There's no question. He's got a system that he loves playing that is very tough to put together with the pieces that he has currently on this roster. Okay, so without getting too heavy and too deep into all that, he's got to make this team, quote unquote, and you hear this all the time, his team, and that's with personnel. Now, one thing we have seen is the movement towards youth.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but people also have to understand these are not moves that are going to reap immediate benefits. When you sign an 18-year-old kid, you got to have a plan for him, how you're going to develop him, what's going to happen with him at RGV, and then at what point is he going to get minutes for the first team. This stuff is tricky business, and you have to believe in these players. And if he's signing them, then he believes in them because he's worked with them a lot of times at the under-20s. So I think he's the strength. It's a lot of unanswered questions. The future of Albert Delise, who could walk on a free transfer in January. There's legit interest for him. We'll find out how legit Albert's desire is to go to Europe because he's told us repeatedly that's what he wants to do. And he's also got the biggest offer probably ever for a player in Dynamo history tabled in front of him right now, which could make a young man from Honduras very comfortable for the rest of his life. So that's a big one to keep an eye on as well. But I think it's right now, it's that tournament for Tab was probably best, as one, he saw guys fighting, and two, he was able to assess players further.
Yeah, we're still seeing like the same problem of giving up late goals and not being able to hold on to leads.
Yeah.
Like, does that boil down to the midfield or defense, or who's?
So you have to look at, I can see how that frustrates fans, because in the context of the big picture over all these lean years now, that's occurred a lot, like you guys have said. It's happened over and over. So, but in Tad Ramos's reign, that's the first time it's maybe happened, or the second time, because it happened against LAFC too. So I think you have to look in the finite, and then you have to look into the past, what's occurred as well. And that's why fan bases get frustrated, right? They want more.
We have a very frustrated fan base almost all the time. Like, you can't look at the comment section under a Twitter post for Houston Dynamo because it's all just bad. Like, you know about it. It's just
exactly. So what do you think the Dynamo's ceiling is for the 2020 season? Like, what's the best case scenario?
Wow. I think the best case scenario is I think you want to see this team trend upward with the first-year coach. Mm-hmm. Whether that's his tactics, and again, I think that's a challenge based on the current roster to play a 4-3-3. And in fact, in the second half, the Dynamo were not really playing a 4-3-3. It was kind of like a 4-1-4-1 or a 4-5-1, whatever you want to say. It's basically your 18-yard box, everybody's sitting back deep and playing for the counterattack. Now, whether that happened organically or that happened, by design, or maybe a mixture of both, whatever it was, you didn't like seeing the Dynamo sitting back and taking the punches and the pressure of the LA Galaxy, who are, if we're all being honest, no great shakes right now. So that's why it was disappointing. And yes, you can point right to the penalty, or you can say, if you invite pressure in for an entire half, something bad could happen, right? So, there's lots of ways to look at this. I try to look at it realistically. I try to take the positive out of it. And again, the positive to me is the coach and the staff. And Tab told me, it was pretty interesting. I had a little interview with him. And he said, I want the players to invite the staff in to fight with them. And I think you could interpret that in a lot of different ways.
What did you make of that?
Yeah, that was interesting. I had to think about it a little bit. And I don't know if that still is about the building of the relationship between a coach and his players, because you can talk on Zoom all day long, and and I know that does help people learn about each other. But I think to go through games and to get games is what really he needs as a coach. So again, it's tough now. Now they got to hang out for a month. Until August 22nd, when hopefully there'll be games. So it's very difficult circumstances for everyone.
I thought we were gonna have to wait a lot longer, so I'm glad it's only that.
I hope it remains on track, because I think it's healthy for all of us. I think we're loving this tournament. We're watching games at night and assessing players, and
everybody getting normal again, back to normal life.
That may be a while, guys, and that's why the people that are best at navigating the change. There's some people that are okay with it and are pretty good at it, and there's others that struggle. And I think we all struggle, but we just have to recognize those moments, embrace it. You can't get ultra down, but yeah, things are different. There's no question about it. I woke up one night in the middle of the night and I said, I got to drive to New Jersey. It's 23 hours away from here. My parents are 94 years old, because I woke up and I was kind of jumped up, and I was like, well, the next time I see my parents, I don't want it to be after one of them's passed away. So I packed a bag, threw a dog in a car, took off, and just kept driving, stayed in a few hotels, a little bit of a risk, but I felt it was a risk I needed to take. So, and at the end, it was actually mentally a very good thing, not only to see them social distance wise, but also to get out in open space and drive and go through the mountains of Tennessee and Pennsylvania and all these gorgeous states and just be reminded how big this place is, because we live in a city. We sometimes, our vision is so concentric, and all the ideas come out of big cities in this country. To get out in the open space was healthy.
We lived in the dorms at college, and that was our city. We would go months without leaving the campus.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Packed and crazy.
Oh man.
You guys are equipped. You're gonna make it.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Well, what do you think are some lasting long-term effects COVID-19 could have on the MLS and on professional sports in general? I mean, I know money-wise, financially,
financially, everybody's taking a bath. I mean, look, you're looking at a guy that's considered amongst the unemployed in America because I'm not calling MLS games. So, things have changed for lots of people. Could it affect the transfer market? Could it affect the money people invest in their teams and the variety of components, whether it's the youth side? I mean, we saw Minnesota United kind of drop out of the youth side of things right now, which was a little bit shocking. So I think there's a lot of dynamics that affect all these pro teams. That's also a reason why there's such a desire for a lot of the leagues to play, because they want to fulfill TV contracts, and make sure their revenue streams are working. Now that's not as much in the case of the Dynamo and MLS because they're more ticket sales based and tertiary revenue streams at games, live games. But I think it's important that their product's out there, and I think they deserve a lot of kudos, Major League Soccer, for a little bit of stumbling at the beginning of all these tournaments, but everybody has, and then really getting things under control. And that's a real testament to the league and the coaches, the players, and all these behind-the-scenes people that never get a pat on the back. Seems like it's going pretty well.
Yes, sir.
It was pretty cool because, in the very beginning of the MLS Back tournament, every game was nationally televised. And I didn't see the ratings or anything, but I'm sure the ratings were better than usual.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard the ratings were not great. I'm sure the opening games were, but there was something that said they were a little bit down, but I think there was a lot of creativity and innovation from ESPN with the way they dealt with their sponsors and how they lifted it above the field. I mean, there's some real creativity there from some pretty creative minds.
I mean, a lot of players are getting able to shine, like Thomas Hassel with Vancouver Whitecaps, the goalkeeper, Brendan Aronson from Philadelphia Union. A lot of young players are getting able to shine from the MLS Back tournament. Like Diego Rossi, I don't know.
How about the Toronto FC guy, Ayo Akindola?
Oh, he's got the hat trick.
5 goals for Toronto FC.
To play for US, right?
Yeah, he could play for the US, Nigeria, or Canada. But I think what you're saying is one of the things I would agree with, is that this has been a great opportunity for young players. And I would say the same thing for the NWSL. Remember, a lot of U.S. women's national team players backed out of that tournament for their reasons. And it opened the door for a lot of talented players to have an opportunity to shine. And I think a lot of these players in both Major League Soccer and the NWSL took their moment.
So, through your career as an announcer, you've covered tons of soccer matches, including the 2002, 2006, 2010 World Cups, as well as the 2008 and 2012 Olympics, and, tons of MLS games as well. Is there a certain game or experience you look back on as the crown jewel moment?
Yeah, for me, the greatest experiences for me, if you're looking overall, were like World Cup qualifiers in Guatemala, where you fly into a country and you get off the plane and 2 guys in suits grab you and move you out a side door and put you in a Cadillac, an SUV, a big, it's like those, and then drive you to a hotel, and you're driving down the streets and you're just looking at the poverty and how different it is from the country you're from, yet it's a passionate place for soccer. I've had an opportunity to do a lot of those games in places like El Salvador and Guatemala, and those are moments that I don't talk about a lot, but they're indelibly etched in my mind. I mean, there's just some remarkable things that happened in those places while calling those games and being in those environments. And of course, you're there live, right? So, they're the fun part of it. There was a little bit of an element of danger, really, because it's just a little bit off the rails. It's not like going to BBVA Stadium. It's you're going to the national stadium in Guatemala. A visit from a U.S. national team is an opportunity to slay the giants. The stadium's packed an hour and a half before the game with people chanting, and they're all in the same color. It's a whole different.
It's a hard environment.
It's a whole different deal, yeah. And to experience that as a broadcaster and try to bring that back to the audience, that's pretty amazing. But, calling World Cups and Olympics, these types of things are huge. I've never physically been to the World Cup to call the games. It's always been out of a studio. Same with the Olympics, which we did on the set of Saturday Night Live in New York. So, something, I get as big a thrill out of calling an NCAA tournament final with passionate, talented young college players. But, Champions League, Europa League, all this stuff, it all means a lot to me. No different level and effort put into any of it.
Yeah.
But I do like being in stadiums because you feel the crowd, you feel all this other stuff that you don't get in studios. But as you guys have seen, a lot of soccer now is being called out of studios for cost-saving measures.
Yeah.
And that's an art in itself, by the way. To call games off a TV monitor as opposed to being in a stadium, it's two different animals.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Cubo Torres joining Atlanta United?
Why did I know you were going to talk about El Cubo? So I think a couple of things. And, I hear people, right away. But I think you have to consider it from Atlanta United's standpoint. Martinez is done for the year with an ACL.
Yeah.
They need a quick fix. They need an inexpensive quick fix. He's coming dirt cheap. He's got a green card. He counts as a domestic player. He played with Carlos Bocanegra at Chivas USA, right? Mm-hmm. He is good coming back and combining with a midfield. So when you think of Barco and Pity Martinez, that could be an element that helps get the best out of their game, right? Those are some of the pros.
Yeah.
The cons are, the guy's only scored 4 goals since 2017, okay? He went 23 games without scoring a goal in Houston. Yeah. He had a 14 under Cabrera, which I would say it was not an impressive 14 if there's such a thing. And I know there are people out there going to go, a goal's a goal, and they're right. But if you remember, a lot of them were penalties or fluky free kicks. They didn't give me they gave me something, but they didn't give me enough substance to tell me that he was turning the corner, right?
We saw enough from Morrow that same season to let us believe he could take over. Yeah,
exactly. So the cons are, look, in Houston, I don't think he felt the pressure to perform. There's not enough from the media here. We don't have healthy pressure in Houston. There's nobody coming down on players here in Houston. That's something we need desperately here. One day in the future, it just hasn't been cultivated. And it's hard to cultivate when you're not filling your stadium and you're not making the playoffs. You fill your stadium, people have to cover you. They can't say no. And then that's when maybe mainstream people dig into the game deeper and become a little bit more critical, which everybody needs it. I need it. You need it. We all need healthy pressure, and we all need fair criticism. It's a part of life. It's a good thing. So I think he coasted here a bit. If he goes to Atlanta, I'm sure they've laid it out for him pretty clearly that he's there to produce. Now, he may be in the last chance saloon now at 27 years of age. If he wants to turn his career around, he needs to do it now. He scored 4 goals in the last 3 years. I know they came out and said he's been consistent. He hasn't been consistent lately. Okay? He was earlier in his career. He has not been consistent as a goal scorer. So
you want,
you
right?
have to hope that the Atlanta environment, the pressure, the seriousness of the club, the team, the staff, the fans, the media coverage, that may lift him.
Yeah.
And that may get a response out of him. So in that, you say, this may be a smart move. Let's see.
Yes, sir. So I wanted to hear your opinion on something. Me and Colin have this bet that we made, about half a year ago, and I'm a huge MLS guy. Like, I love the MLS, but so just basically, some time ago, me and Colin made this bet that it's $1,000. He thinks the MLS will be the biggest sports league in the United States in 30 years.
30 years.
Well,
30 years.
So
it's a ways away.
It's a rapidly progressing league, and where we've already come in 20 years.
Let's see. 30 years, I'll be 90. My dad's 94, so I might be on the last 18. That's interesting. So you're thinking 30 years it'll be the biggest league. And why is that, though? You got to tell me why.
Okay, well, based on like how it's like the youngest sports league in America, and it's rapidly progressing each year. It's getting better and better. More and more people are starting to watch and starting to care about it. Look, there's not a lot of factual evidence. I just like MLS. All right.
I think there's a lot of things that could lean towards that. The popularity growth continues to.
I certainly think that when the U.S. wins a World Cup, that will skyrocket, like, excitement for U.S. soccer. And I think we'll win a World Cup within the next 30 years. And we might host a World Cup in 20.
You did say that 30 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I told him.
MLS, you guys will be in your 50s. You'll be making a lot of money, so you can pay off.
MLS wasn't a league 30 years ago. It wasn't a league 30 years ago.
And my take is the NFL, baseball, the MLB, the NBA, they're all so big. And I'm a huge fan of all of them, that even I want the MLS to grow as big as it can. But even then, I could never see it being bigger than the NFL,
He never lets me off this. It's like all the time.
Yeah.
It's one you could argue for a long time. I mean, I think the one thing we always have to consider here, and you guys are considering this, I don't think everybody does. And people, there's an awful lot of people that don't want to see the U.S. Succeed in soccer, whether it's at the MLS level or at the national team level, because we have all these other great traditional sports which the rest of the world doesn't have, and we dominate in those sports. I mean, the rest of the world doesn't play the NFL. They can't even afford the equipment. I think we always have to remember that this is a country where you've got all these other traditional sports in a very big way, and you also have lifestyle too, which, you have to factor that in. Not everybody has the same lifestyle in Central America or South America. These are things that we don't consider always. I think we have to remind people constantly that we have so many traditional sports here that really occupy the interest of a lot of people. So how does soccer and MLS continue to carve out its niche on the landscape? I think they've done it slowly, methodically. It's become good business. It's a great place for investors to park their money. Okay, no question, because we see that.
I think getting James Harden on the Dynamo, I think that's a good step. And some other football player is part-time owner.
DeAndre Hopkins became part-time owner of the Dynamo too, right?
I think so, yeah.
And someone for the Philadelphia Union, but
Kevin Durant, right? Didn't he?
Kevin Durant, yeah.
I like the crossover, but rest assured, those guys also know what I just said. It's a good place to put some of your money.
Yeah, it's not.
And to be an owner, and there's a lot that comes along with that. And I think we would want to embrace those guys being a part of it, 100%.
Definitely.
So
will it get us a whole bunch of NBA fans? I'm not sure about that.
Hey, NBA and soccer are sort of different, right? I mean, sort of alike, right?
I mean, they have some things, but,
So I think a lot of MLS fans can agree that there's two best players in MLS, Joseph Martinez and Carlos Vela. I think if you think there's a best player in MLS, it's one of those two. So who do you think is the best player in MLS?
Wow, best. You could go positionally, I think. I mean, best is an awful open game. So you're talking about two attacking players that are exceptional and very different in a very cool way. I mean, Joseph Martinez would put his head through a brick wall to score a goal. Very, very different. Absolutely insatiable guy to me. I mean, the look in his eyes, it's like a wolf going out for a kill. I mean, it's incredible to see his eyes. The other great thing about him is he comes from Venezuela, which is not always noted as one of the better soccer countries in South America. And I think that's a great part of the story too. And then there's Carlos Vela, who's just, elegant, smooth, natural. Very, very different. He's a dribbler. He's going to take people on. He's going to hit free kicks. He's going to do things that wow you, just like Joseph, but in different ways. So I think the parallel of two guys is really cool. But I think, you got to also look to who's the best goalkeeper. Is the best goalkeeper in the league Tim Melia, or is it Andre Blake? I think goalkeeping to me right now out of this tournament is a bit of an issue. Honestly, I'm like, I don't really see anybody really jumping out and grabbing the mantle of being number one in MLS. Maybe it's Andre Blake, but then you got to go through defenders, midfielders, and so for me, those are open-ended questions. They'll work great on the radio, and people will call in and, no, you're wrong. But, I'm a little bit more the purist, and I'm like, well, yeah, they're the best at attacking, but they're not the best at defending, or they're not the best necessarily at two-way play, or so you can take it any way you want.
Okay.
I respect.
So what have you thought of Marko Maric so far, our new goalie?
Yeah, so I think he had a very safe, competent tournament.
Yeah,
didn't make any glaring mistakes to me. I thought he was a plus. I don't know. What did you guys think?
I mean, we both kind of thought, he made the saves he was supposed to make, and he missed the saves he probably should have missed. He didn't do anything out of the ordinary, like any crazy goal save that you were like, oh my gosh, like. Right. That's why we got him,
What me and Luke do is we compare a lot of what he does to Joe Willis, because I think Joe Willis was just your bang average goalkeeper, but he made the right plays. So, we're like, would Joe Willis have saved that, or would Joe Willis have done better? Because we're spending an international spot on a goalkeeper where there's already a lot of good goalkeepers that are American in MLS. So we like to compare him to Joe Willis and see
center backs as well.
Yeah.
I feel very bad for Fuenmayor. I don't know why he wasn't developed over the last couple of years.
Good. He gets red cards, but he's good.
I don't know if he got in the doghouse with Wilmer. I have no idea, but that's a guy that's really missed out in 2 vital years of development when we were told, look, this is one of our center backs of the future. And I looked at him and I go, wow, guy's big, tall, strong. Yeah. He's got a little edge to him. He's good in the air. This is a guy that can be polished, and if he gets minutes over the next 2 years, he's a starter. But that never happened, and it's not a great twist for him because he has not been able to accelerate his development by not getting games. So back to your point about Marko, I think one of the things that I heard in conversations with Matt Jordan and Tab Ramos was his feet. And his ability to hit a long diagonal ball with his left foot, that was one of the things. But I think you guys are astute. You bring up a good thing, Why couldn't we find an American goalkeeper? But obviously they wanted to move on from Joe. I think Joe had some great years. Also one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Not that that's how you build your roster. Maybe you don't want too many nice guys.
Yeah, you don't want too many nice guys in the team.
But anyway, I think that's interesting. And the question will be, can Marko Maric win you 3 games this year? Can he win you 9 to 12 points simply on a goalkeeping performance, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the sign to me. Can they win you an additional 9 to 12 points during the course of a season? Can they win you a game on the road when, you get a timely counterattack goal and you've had to defend for your lives and he has a blinder and you win a game you shouldn't win? That's to me one of the tests as well. But I think distribution was a big reason for Marko.
I can think of a couple of times where Tyler Derrick single-handedly won us the game on the road. He was a spectacular goalkeeper.
That would have been a while ago, though.
Yeah.
Because the Dynamo haven't won much on the road, and that's another thing that they're going to have to turn around during COVID-19, if in fact that's the way it all goes. But, you know, it's a little easier on the road because there's no intimidating environments.
Another player I feel like that is kind of taking the Fue Mayor route is Ronaldo Pena. Like, we saw him come in the game when Marmanotas left, and he didn't look bad. He looked good. He looked comfortable on the ball. And we've hardly seen anything from him. He's maybe made like, what, 5-6 appearances?
Well, you know, he came in as a big signing also. I remember the time he scored in New York, I think at the Red Bulls. But I had called his FIFA Under-20 World Cup final against England. Venezuela had a very good team. Their coach was the full national team coach, Rafael Dudamel. And he took Pena and Peñaranda and a couple of these guys. You know, he took this group and just nurtured this group. Ronaldo Pena was one of the stars of that Under-20 Venezuela team that lost in the final to England. They got farther than the U.S. Now, we did have a bad injury, right? He had a pretty serious injury, but again, that's another one that, you know, you're kind of thinking, okay, when he comes in, what's the plan to develop him? Because he's coming in highly touted. He's coming in as someone who's ultimately going to be a starter. I think the problem for him is, to me, he's more of a center forward. He's not a wide guy.
I see that.
I think that's where he's best, and bottom line is he's got to beat Mauro Manotas out.
Yeah.
But he's also got to get minutes to do it.
Yeah, and he's not getting many. You know, he only got that chance because Manotas got hurt. You know, I doubt we would have seen him otherwise.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any chance, or do you have any idea of when fans might be able to attend the games again? I know it's, you know, sometime in the future, but, you know, I just have no idea personally.
Guys, I can't answer that question. We're on the COVID-19 timeline.
Yeah.
I can't even answer that question. I'd love to say something, next week, but
Yeah.
I just don't speculate anymore because I'm not an epidemiologist. Mm-hmm. All I can tell you is I had a nephew who had it, and he's a very fit guy. Was an athlete in college, and I saw what this thing did to him, and it was pretty scary. Mm-hmm. And he's in his 30s, and he still has post-COVID-19 issues, which is an accelerated heart rate. So that's another thing that's still out there is from my readings, not from me trying to be an expert here. Yeah. And listening to people is just that there are potential symptoms that hang on after.
Yes, sir. Well, I think that's probably going to wrap it up today. Thank you so much for joining us again. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, big time. You have anything else you want to say?
So we want to ask a favor for you, a quick favor before we head up.
You bet.
Oh yeah. So, is there any way you could just say, "I'm Glen Davis, and you're listening to Keeping Tabs"?
It's.
I know it's dumb.
It's like that's. We went to the fan
meet. Of course I can.
Okay. We went to the fan meet. We got a bunch of players, and even Tab were almost to say it. So it's like we want to have a big collection.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You ready?
On your go.
Do I need a countdown here?
No, you're whenever good. You're ready.
I'm Glen Davis. You're listening to Keeping Tabs.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
I could have spiced it up and done something better, but I don't want to do it up there.
That's awesome.
Maybe in one take, too. How about that?
Exactly. Thank you.
All right, guys. Hey, a real pleasure meeting both of you. You're both really fun guys. I love how up on the Dynamo you are, and you're focused in on it. I mean, you're obviously doing homework on it, so, you know, good for you. And you guys are the next wave, so keep up the good work. Keep working at your craft and enjoying it, and you'll have a lifetime of happiness.
Yes, sir.
Well,
thank you.
I'd love to stay connected sometime, but
yes,
all right.
Thank you.
Down the road, if you guys, if we ever get back, well, when we get back to the situation in the stadiums, if you want to come into the stadium and shadow us on a TV game and kind of go around, we could pull that off. Okay?
Yes, sir.
That would definitely be.
That would be amazing.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for having me on.
Have a good one.
Yes, sir.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.